Okay, so bear with me, fellow Kolal members, as I try to figure out the best way to deliver this tremendous piece of Torah from Rav Schick. Of course, I really mean from Rabbi Nachman and the interpretation given by Rav Schick. So let me, as we're getting closer to Pesach, I'd like to finish this story before we get to Pesach. And let's go back over just a little bit of where we are after all the struggles that this second of the king has found himself in. He leaves his horse behind, which he said, which Rav Schick said, which is his body or his physicality, and he really enters into a deep spiritual life. And so he says, he starts thinking. He starts thinking that he knows maps, he knows everything, he knows all about the physical world. He's not going to find what he wants by going through physicality. Politics is not going to do it for him. He needs to find the soul that's himself. And so he starts and he takes off and he's going to go into the desert. So Rav Schick writes that the word midbar is really the word devar, to speak. And so he starts entering into the world of prayer. So let's just read the outside of this story. We'll try to go into the inside of it and see what the commentary is. Maybe we're going to take that tack and it's a better way to lay this out. It says, Achar kach ra adam gadol. So he started walking through this desert, right? There's praying. He saw a really big man out there. And he says like this. He says, so he says, Achar kach ra adam gadol ma'od, she'enu enesh klal. It's not like a person. Shehia adam gadol kol kach. To be such a great man. But Nasa Elon Gadol, and he was carrying a tremendous tree. Should be Yishuv and a Nimsa Elon Gadol Kazeh, because in the civilized world, or whatever that means, in the world that he came from, you never saw anything like this. So this man, this great man, asked him, Mi'ata, who are you? He says, Ani Adam, I'm a man. Now, he says man, not a man, he says man. But Thomas, so he wonders. So he says, I've been in this world of prayer, or is that what he means? So I've been in this desert for a long time. I never met a man here. I never saw any men. So he starts to tell him all the story about how he's been struggling. And that he's looking for a mountain of gold. Mibsar shal Margolios and a fortress of pearl. So he says, he says, there's no such thing as that. But so he started pushing him away. He says, don't waste your time. Is that you know what? You've been spending your time on something which is absolutely nonsense. This is for sure. This thing that you're looking for, you're never going to find it. So he said, so this person, that is the Sheni Melech, that is the Jew who was trying to find his soul, he begins to cry. He cries out and he says, there has to be some place where I'm going to find this particular site, which is the site where my soul resides. But this person that he's talking to pushes him aside. So somebody been telling you nonsense. This is something you can never find. But he says, no. I will find it. And it does exist. Let's see what Rav Schick says is the intention of the Rebbe when he tells us this story. He says that, let me find this place. He says, here he says now how he has found this great man, and this great man is carrying a huge tree, and he says to himself, he's looking at this, and he says, I never saw anything like this before. So Rav Schick writes on this. The person starts to serve Hashem. And he really gives himself over to search for his soul and to find the root of his kedusha. Maskina la'avar lo kol mini miniyos v'ikuvim. There's all different kinds of things that will stand in his way and tell him not to go forward. V'im afal pikein einem mistakel lo kol kach. And then even so, he keeps going on. People tell you this is ridiculous what you're doing. But he puts more effort into it, and he keeps trying to do avodas Hashem. So the person spends a lot of time, says to tell him, he works on Mishnayos, he starts learning Gemara a little bit, he makes special times, as what Rav Shik will bring this out, for Koveya Itim LaTorah, so that you fix time for learning Torah. Even though the person maybe comes into poverty, and maybe he has tremendous pressure from other places. And then between all of these things, and this baitidus, and the praying that he's doing, he comes into a lot of bothers, a lot of problems. So people started arguing with him, and different kinds of bitternesses come around him. The Gedufim, people make fun of him. These are people that really are not up to anything particular, but they see him, he looks weird, or he's doing something weird. So that there's people that really try to trap him and try to keep him out of whatever they're doing. Call mini Galilos, Rasha, all different kinds of plots against this person to keep him from praying, to keep him from learning. All these kind of things start happening. They didn't happen before, but he wasn't so deeply into trying to find his own Kedusha. But he doesn't give up on himself. And he strengthens himself in all different kinds of ways in the world. So when he keeps going, he gets other problems. New things come up. Because suddenly he's in the company of some great man. This is maybe somebody who's famous. Maybe he's a big Talmid Chacham. Maybe he's a big Rosh Hashiva. And this person is Shenose Elon Gadol. He is carrying a big tree. What's a tree? There's a lot of people who follow him. They run after him. Kedugmas Elon sheyesh lo hamon enofim, like a tree that has a whole lot of branches. V'kol anav yesh lo beli sipur olim, so they have all these branches with so many twigs. All of them have tons and tons of leaves. So now this man, he looks at this person who's trying to find his soul. They're called the Sheni the Melech, the second to the king. He said, Mi'ata, who are you? What are you doing here? So the Sheni the Melech says to him, Ani Adam, I am man. Adam Gadol, so this big man, he says, I'm man. I'm just a regular man. I'm a man. I don't know. What's the Rebbe mean when he says, I'm man? So he says, Adam Gadol. So he says, Adam Gadol says, I've been in this business for a long time. I'm not here in the desert. But I didn't see man here. I didn't see any men. This is how the Yetzer starts to work with a person. But first, he starts in with them, and he starts saying, well, I don't think this is right. Doesn't look like what you're doing is really going to be good for you. But he says, look, I do a lot of mitzvahs. I've looked at all the following that I have, all the people that are listening to me, and you're out of bounds. He brings this as Zakuti Moran, so the first thing, maybe he comes and he flatters you. It's a long time, I've been here, so he says something flattering, been here a long time. Or maybe he's flattering himself, building himself up, and he says, look, I know just about everything there is to know, and I deserve respect. And I don't see you doing anything that makes any sense to me. Vesipalo, call him now. So he says over to him all this different story about what he's been doing and how hard he's been struggling. That he's looking for a mountain of gold and a fortress of pearls. So Rav Shik says, what does the Rebbe mean by this? He means he's looking for the root of his soul. person is looking to make a yichud, what we call a wrap himself around the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Also, this great man, he says to him, this thing, you will never find it. It doesn't exist. So he pushes him away. He says, if you can't follow the rules around here, you're not going to make it. So I think this is just ridiculous. He says that somebody, you've been carrying around some nonsense that somebody told you from someplace. Because if sure, this thing that you're looking for, you never find it. It's not findable. It's not something you could find. Because the nature of the Yetzer Hara is to push a person away, and to make his thinking very weak. So why are you putting in all of this effort for something that you're really going on the wrong path? This is not for you. I'm saying this. He says, I'm saying this for everybody. What you're looking for, the source of your soul, you're not going to find it. It's better that you get yourself involved in a good shiur someplace. But he started crying. He cried hard. Because he says it's got to be found. I can find my way to my own eternity. So you're in a world of trouble. And you have trouble. People argue with you, fight with you, you're in business, you have health problems, you have whatever it is. And they want to push him away. So what do you need to do? You need to cry out to Hashem Yisbarach. You need to say, help me, I can't make it. I can't make it on my own. Help me, help me, help me. Remember, the Shekhinah is inside of us. So all we have to do is turn that direction. Sometimes you need a little push. So he says you have to say this with simplicity and purity. Just say that you know that you can't make it and you need God's help. So he says, of his akesh b'hakshanas gedolos, so the person then stubbornly goes on. And he fortifies himself, shelo yuchlu lahato, so that he's not going to let himself be fooled. But that's a giant, this great man, he pushes him aside. So he said, Vihine kan, so in the language of the story, first the Rebbe calls him a big man. But now he calls him by a different name. Once he starts to push this man out, he doesn't want him in the yeshiva anymore. Once he starts to push this man out, then the Rebbe starts calling him Adam Mushuna, a different kind of person. So he says, and he brings the Yiddish over here, Amal Mushuna. He says a wilde Mensch. He's like a wild man, like a man, but he's everybody. He's civilization. He calls the man that's different. Because he started in on this guy, try to get him out. And then he closed himself like a person who's a real authority, because look, after all, he's carrying this tree. He has a lot of followers. He has a big building. He has yeshivas, and he has people who are giving him money and dinners, and so on and so forth. So then, at first, he called him the big man. But once he starts to push the person who's really trying to seek his soul, want to push him out, and to weaken his thinking and the direction he's going, and he says, you know what, there's really nothing to what you're doing. It's all nonsense. Then he starts to call him a different kind of man. So he says in Yiddish, what I said, they're wilde Mensch. This is like a wild man. Person from outer space. So then this man is now called the Adam HaMeshuna, this man, somebody has been teaching you something which is really nonsense. Because the Yetzer Hara can close himself in other people. So people have all different kinds of reasons for attaining the positions that they attain. Very often these positions are not emistic. For some, and even people that you know, that you have pictures of those people, and these are great people. And it does not going to do you any good to try to get into the Avodas Hashem Yisbarach the way you're doing, because what you're trying to do is not findable. You can't find the root of your soul. And it's really a waste of time. All this effort that you've been doing to try to learn and figure out how to learn and figure out how to pray and work on all of this thing because of the purposes that you want to find some panemia, some inside of yourself. Because who's ever talking to you, whoever you've been reading, is telling you nonsense. That is, so that the man says, this Shani Amelech, the simple Yid, she says, no, I know that I have a soul. I know that the soul inside of me. And I know this soul inside of me, I want to unite with it. The true person who is a servant of Hashem, and he wants to come near to the true tzaddik. It's a very interesting idea how he calls this man the tzaddik. And then we also know that Rabbi Nachman is called the tzaddik emes, and so he wants to call. But the thing is that I believe that what he's saying is the same thing. Is that when we say that Rabbi Nachman is still alive, it means that the flow that he generated and is generated from him continuously, because there's no difference between this world and the next world. This world is this world, the next world is the next world, but they're all connected, all one thing. If you can find your way to it, to your own soul, you'll find that there is a leader up there, like a drum master, like a what do you call it, a band master, what's the right word? So I don't know exactly right now. Leading the whole thing, the master of the garden, the master gardener, the person who's showing you the way to grow. So he says, don't let yourself be confused by any creature in the world. But you have to say that, yes, I can find my soul. I can find my way in this world. And I can turn into myself. I can make myself into an ish kosher v'tzadik, of the person who's pure, person who does the right thing, the person who loves everyone. If I don't abandon myself and give up, and I keep going stubbornly, and I keep trying, I'll be able to get through everything. I will be able to do this. That's why I said that in the previous year, that the attraction that I always felt, and the tremendous attraction I felt to the words of the Rabbeinu Kodesh, is that he's a tzaddik who's pnimi to me, he's inside of me, and he's trying to talk to me and trying to tell me what I can do, that I can find the godliness that's inside of me, and I can unite with it. And even though that it might take years to go this way or that way, it's my life, it's the effort of my life, and he will teach me how to do that. So thank you very much for listening. Main thing, I hope you enjoyed it. That's the main thing.